Hotep family. So today we're going to go into lesson 12 on the course of African philosophy. This course was done by Marcus Garvey, and today your reader and instructor will be Onitaset Kumat of the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio. I am the author of the Book of Power, the author of the Pro-Black Compendium, and of course the author of Zubiri. So let's dive into this. This is lesson 12, the purpose of institutions. And so it begins. Organized society is always a mass of people, and as such cannot do anything explicit or by detail by themselves. Hence the organizing of institutions to do the particular work that cannot be done by the masses as a whole. This is one of the most important concepts we have to understand, which is that, realistically speaking, you cannot expect mass action. You cannot expect the masses to get something done. Classic example. Let's say you want to introduce new legislation for, let's say new legislation against police brutality or something, right? You don't expect all the people on this planet to go back into their rooms and draft up a document and then somehow make something of it. No, you expect a certain institution to draft up a document and present it as the, either for mass consent, but not even mass consent. But like that's the practicality of the world. The world is that you will not have mass consent. You will not have a consensus if the population is that large. We're talking like, for instance, if you're discussing like the normal nations, they might have 14-15 million people. You're not going to get a consensus of 14-15 million people. You're not going to have 15 million people reading a legislation and then putting forward their edits and somebody compiling 15 million edits into a document acceptable to 15 million people. It's not going to happen. Because it's not going to happen, what you do is you have institutions. In certain nations you have what's known as a republic. In other nations, what you'll have is you will not have 15 million people in one nation. But in the modern world, that's what you have. So let's so that's a really important concept to understand, that institutions are very important. So what are institutions? Let's go. There are different kinds of institutions in a society, but each institution has its particular function. Whether it be the church, college, or university, school, hospital, academy, chamber of commerce, fraternity, trade union, literary club, sports club, athletic club, gymnasium, YMCA or YWCA, Katha Wakatha. So here's what I want to say about this, though. There are different kinds of institutions in a society. You have to look at your society and ask yourself, do I have these institutions in my society? Do I have churches in my society? Yeah, of course. But are they churches for my spiritual system? Or are they churches for another person's spiritual system? Do I have colleges or universities? Well, yeah, very limitedly. But are they colleges and universities for your educational system or another people's? Do I have schools? And if so, are they for my sense of schooling, as outlined in, I believe, in an earlier lesson? Or is it for another people's sense of schooling? Do I have hospitals, but is it for my physiology or another person's physiology? Because you have to understand that the Eurasian and the African have a different physiology altogether. Do I have academies? Right? Do I have chambers of commerce? Do I have fraternities? Do I have trade unions? Do I have literary clubs, sports clubs, athletic clubs, and gymnasiums, YMCAs or YWCAs? And again, you have to ask yourself, for whom were these institutions designed? YMCA, what does YMCA mean? Young Male Christian Association. I'll continue. In our present civilization, no society would be considered functioning properly if such institutions did not exist. Therefore, it is necessary for the Negro to pay close attention to developing the appreciation for institutional life. Again, no society would be considered functioning properly. Now, what if you now look, these institutions I spoke about, these are limited in African communities. Most of them are not designed, are not even run by Africans. Okay, the fraternities, sure. The chambers of commerce, not really. The schools, not really. The colleges and universities, not really. The hospitals, definitely not. But most of them are not even run by African people. So the question becomes, how many institutions do you have in your community? How many do you have in your community? When Bobby E. Wright was a psychologist, he had when he was alive, he was the, I think founder, I want to say, or the director of a mental health institution for black people. And the thing with this was that it was the only black-run mental health institution in the United States. Okay? It was the only mental health institution. So there was just one for people of, let's say they were 35 million at that time. For people of 35 million, there was only one mental health institution for them. Again, you see mental illness everywhere you turn now. You see it everywhere you turn. Let's continue. It is not necessary or binding that he copies completely the systems, methods, or manners of these institutions, except insofar as they would go to help him to promote a higher life and in accomplishing the most out of this organized society. It is incumbent upon him that he will have and control his own institutions, based upon his own cultural and civilized idealism. As for instance, he may have his own church, but it is not necessary for him to adopt the peculiar articles of faith of the churches of alien races. Now, I want to stress with you that technically the African does not have these institutions. Like, technically these are not your institutions. Even if you are imitating another people, if you're copying another people, it's technically not yours. Now Garvey will tell you, hey, copying is fine. Copying is a little fine. It really isn't. It really isn't, because of how different the Eurasian and the African is. It really isn't okay. This is why we have to, or you have to, design institutions for our own benefit. Okay, we have to design institutions for our own benefit, separate from these other people and based upon our own cultural heritage. You would be in a confused individual if you believe that the black church developed from a truly African standpoint would look like the black church of today. You'd be confused if you think the colleges developed from a truly African perspective would look like the colleges of today. The schools, hospitals, academies, chamber of commerce. If we went about with truly adopting our system, truly doing Sankofa, if you will, we wouldn't know. It would not be what you see in front of you. What you see in front of you is imitation designed to decimate and destroy an African people. He is not a Hebrew, therefore he would not adopt the Hebrew faith. He is not by origin a Roman Catholic nor an Anglican, because these faiths or religions were founded by white men with an idea of their own. And this is important, because again, it contradicts what was earlier stated with regards to Christianity and religion by Garvey. This is really the crux of it. These faiths, because Garvey, people identify him as a Catholic, if you will, almost even a Roman Catholic. These faiths of religion were founded by white men with an idea of their own. say less. In this religious philosophy, the Negro may safely adopt articles of faith to link him to the Godhead of the Christian faith. Again, why the Christian faith? Get it out. Get it out. Throw it. And practice such as his particular religion, and so likewise with all other institutions. His universities, colleges, and schools may engage in the same process of education, but with an adopted curriculum necessary for the special benefit of the Negro. His clubs, academies, and unions should be modeled in the same way, with the absolute objective of attaining the end that is particularly desired by the race. When you see curriculum, whenever you see the word curriculum, you open up the Book of Power, or the pro-black compendium, because in those books I give you a modernized version, a modernized framework, outline of what a African curriculum could look like. Okay, I give you and it's based upon what you would find in Stolen Legacy by George James. George James in Stolen Legacy records for you what the ancient African curriculum was. Okay, like what it was. The only thing is or the framework of what it was, because it relied upon, let's say, 40, 50 books, or actually maybe 100. But it relied upon a lot of books that I don't believe are in print anymore. And because they're not in print, what you can do is you can see the outline of them. And in that outline, you can derive, okay, here's how we can move forward. Oh, and I think, adapt Adirafo's outline for nation building. Basically, if you want to design a truly nation building curriculum, I advise you to pick up the Book of Power, and particularly the Book of Power. You know, I kind of hint at it in the Pro-Black Compendium, and I come back and revise it in the Book of Power. I believe we can work out a curriculum, but what we need to first work out is a nation state. We need to truly, because a curriculum without a nation is worthless. I feel a curriculum without a nation is worthless, because the nations implement the curriculum. You have to understand that. You know, to this day, you know, the curriculum of Nigeria is by the Nigerian government. Like, the Nigerian government approves of the curriculum of what would be the public education system. Now, if you're doing a private education system, that's one thing. But even in the private educational sense, you want to have deep connection with an economy, and that deeper connection with the economy relates to the not just the broader curriculum of the nation in question, but also like the national sanction. You have to have the national sanction. Otherwise, you know, graduating with a piece of paper is not going to amount to much in most circumstances. You know, there are exceptions, of course, but in most circumstances it won't. So let's keep going. The Negro should never completely surrender himself to the institutional life of other people. Otherwise, he will not be original, but purely and merely a copyist. If this could be appreciated, it shows or reveals the wide fields which have remained untouched for Negro organization and Negro activity. It is through the institution of a race that the civilization and culture of the race are built. The Negro should occupy himself in cultivating his own culture and ultimately achieving his own civilized ends, so that in the comparison of racial achievements he may be able to stand out distinctly on those achievements on his own account as others may do. To live on the achievement of others is to really admit the superiority of others and the inferiority of self. I'll read that one again. To live on the achievement of others is to really admit the superiority of others and the inferiority of self. This is one of the things that we have to understand as a people. As a people, we will say things such as, oh, well, you know, Black Twitter is ours. You know, we've made Black Twitter, and Black Twitter is amazing. Blah blah blah. You know, we'll go off about, you know, how accomplished we are on another people's platform, and have no platform of our own, or not support the platforms of our own. Right now, there's this app I have on my phone. It's called Decalo. Decalo is developed by continental Africans, a messaging system akin to WhatsApp, but much more private, truly private. You know, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. Decalo is a truly private, secure messaging app. Guess which one's on your phone? Open up your phone. Look. Scroll down to W. What's on your phone? Scroll up to D, in fact. Scroll up to D. Show me. Do you see the collar? No. No, you see, shoot, I don't even know what you see. But you scroll down to W, and what you got? WhatsApp. You cannot live on the achievement of others. Doing so, you're saying they're superior and you are inferior. You! We have to uplift and support our own. Always. That is your task. Today you wake up, you say, hey, how have I supported or uplifted a black person today? How have I done that today? Or actually, when you wake up, you say, how will I do that today? And when you go to sleep, you say, man, I did well. You make a review. This is how I did it. In fact, I want you start yourself a journal. Wake up in the morning, write in the journal. Here's what I want to do. Here's the good I want to do in this world. And then before you go to bed, you record. This is the good I've done. Do that journal. Do it for, I want to say 3 months. Then send me it. Send me it. I want to see what good you have done. A lot of people will just send me blank pages. A lot of people will show me pronouncements of, oh, I'll do this great thing. Oh, but I did it. That is the issue with those of us who have this higher, like this, those of us who claim to have a higher calling and don't deliver. You need to deliver. And by delivering, that means, again, not living off the achievement of others, but having the achievements yourself. As a fact, it is by such comparison that the Negro is judged as an inferior being. This is why people call you inferior. Now you might say, oh, well, no, there's more to it. No, you have to look at what you've accomplished versus what others have accomplished. Nobody calls me inferior. I walk into a room, they say, hey, look, that's a superior man. Why? I'm a published author of mega books. All right? I have a poise. I have a confidence. I have a conversation about me. This is what makes a man, having deeds makes a person superior. This is ancient African wisdom. Where are your deeds? Where are your deeds? And why do you want to be judged as superior if you don't have any? I'm talking to you. Nothing that is handed to the Negro by somebody else should be sufficiently satisfactory to the Negro. He should seek to surround it with originality and then claim it as his own. He is justified in remodeling and reshaping the thing to suit himself because there is nothing new under the sun, whatever other people have. The Negro was the father of civilization. He constructed the first government in Africa and thereby taught others the way. This is facts. Always seek to improve on whatever you see fit to adopt. Never leave it at where you adopt it because somebody else will claim it and prove their right to it. When you have added to it or taken away from it, you can prove that it is not the same thing, therefore it is yours. Always carefully and thoroughly investigate the accomplishment of other races. Try to improve and beat them at those achievements and keep your achievements a secret from them. Never open up to the fact of your achievement to others because they are too anxious to get the last word on anything that is worthwhile. Always hide the secrets of your achievement while demonstrating those achievements. It must be like a chemist selling his preparation or demonstrating it without giving away his formula, because the moment he does so, there will be many similar preparations on the market. Each institution of a people has its special objects to attain and may not fit in with the idealism of other people, so the Negro should have his own. He is not to be a slave to other people's idealism. In some detail or other, each people's institutions must differ from yours according to their particular idealism. A Jew can never be a Negro in his institutional line, nor an Anglo-Saxon, a Latin, nor a Latin, a Teuton, nor neither a Negro. Therefore, a Negro must not try to be either, but in his institutional line be himself, like the Jew whom nature made a Jew for a particular purpose. Therefore, he must be different both in his habits, in his way of living, and in his idealism. You have to understand this right here. The Jew, the Euro Jew, the Jew, he's a Euro Jew, he's a European, he's not different. He's not different by nature, but by nurture. You have to understand that you, on the other hand, are different by nature, but you want to be the same by nurture. Come on. Come on. There is a way to live that's different for every race on this planet. The lion does not live like the tiger. The lion has a social formation that benefits the lion in not just its youth, in its adulthood, in its retirement, in its span. You, the African, you can't live like the Latin, the Anglo-Saxon, the Teuton, the Jew. You can't live like them. You live like you. And what that constitutes, what that means, that's what you have to investigate. That's what you have to investigate. And I tell you the answer. I give you the answer, but you still have to investigate it. You still have to investigate it. You still have to read. Okay? You still have to read. You still have to meditate. You still have to cogitate. You still have to look around. Open your eyes. Observe. But it's there. All people have separate and distinct functions, and they should keep to those functions. The archangels in heaven have their functions, the cherubims have theirs, and the seraphims have theirs, and so with humanity. Following Amun and Heaven's example, there is no reason why the Negro should not have his, and when he doesn't, he is not living the proper life in accordance with the purpose for which nature made him. Your entire physiognomy is different from other people. Your hair is woolly, your nose is broad, your lips are thick, and so this difference must also be intended in your outlook and in your viewpoint on life. Anyone who tells you to the contrary is a liar and a fraud, in fact, and enemy to you and to nature. In this human world of confusion, never let anyone tell you that although of different races, you are one. Now, this is why I come back to this Christianity nonsense. That's what Christianity does. Christianity does that. But for some reason, Garvey promotes Christianity, so it's just weird. And the scripture, see, if you were one, God would have. If you were one, Amun would have made you so, because he is not a deceiver. The Ethiopian is spoken of as being different. Even in the scripture, it is said that he cannot change his skin. Think what that means. It is a fair assumption that others may change their skins, but not the Ethiopian, who is a Negro, the black man. So there must be something permanent and lasting and eternal about the black man. Amun knows why he fixes it so. Don't try to change it by subterfuge or by inferential fraud. What a grand thing it is to know that while all other things change, you, because of your race, cannot change. Tell this to the world. Tell them how lasting you are, and when they doubt it, send them to their Bibles, which you yourself never wrote. You didn't write the Bible. I do want to say this, though. Like this is kind of against the evolutionary theory, you know. But of course, a lot of people do dismiss evolution. But it's against evolutionary theory. And you know, reasonably so, in the sense that unreasonably so in the sense that we know that variations exist in Africa, and you know, that's like for instance, you know, albinism. We know albinism exists. We can't say otherwise. And what albinism does is that yes, it actually does change the skin of the Ethiopian. But we'll continue. Tell this to the world. Tell them how lasting you are, which you never wrote. It emphasizes the greater truth that it may be so, because even those who wish otherwise have to acknowledge in this respect of virtue, the black man evidently was the first man. Adam and Eve were black. Their two children, Cain and Abel, were black. When Cain slew Abel and Ammon appeared to ask him for his brother, he was so shocked that he turned white, being the affliction of leprosy, and as such, he became the progenitor of a new race born out of a double sin. So, this is an interesting biblical thing. I feel like, I don't know how, but I feel like I did speak about this Cain and Abel story before. I just don't remember when. It might have been the last. Let me just scroll up and see it. But this is actually a pretty interesting idea. Yeah, see, Cain slew Abel. So, it's this idea that the origin of the white race is in the betrayal of two individuals, one who kills his brother, and that is the origin of the white race. Now, I don't like my thing is this. I don't go by the Bible. I feel like it's allegorical. Maybe this is an allegory for the white race being that vicious, whatever. I don't know. I don't wanna know about this thing, but I feel like this borders on the whole quote unquote conspiracy theory kind of stuff that I'm talking about, which is I don't personally subscribe to beliefs. Like, I don't subscribe to the Bible as a resource per se. I feel like it's mostly a propaganda tool, but again, there is some resources in it. So it could be that yes, the white race is in fact, some sort of because the thing is this, it's consistent with what you would think of as white people. I don't know if it's very useful to repeat. I don't know if it's really useful to repeat. But let's keep going. The white man is Cain transformed, hence his career of murder from Cain to Mussolini. Mussolini is an interesting mention because a lot of people try to connect Garvey with fascism, but here he is condemning a leading fascist as just a murderer and essentially a transformed Cain. So that's pretty interesting. It is evident and fair assumption that when Cain ran away and disappeared from the neighborhood of his parents and journeyed afar, he built up a new race, living in the same country but far away, and in the process of time in Africa, where all this happened, the Negro race, through Adam and Eve, continued their multiplication, and as it spread itself in the development of a civilization, it came suddenly upon the settlement of Cain, and knowing Cain's history of blood, ran the entire race from that neighborhood across the Mediterranean into Europe. The white race of Cain hid in caves for centuries. Therefore, the white skin became fixed because most of the time they were hidden from the light. Hence, the white man as a European. So it's pretty interesting. Now, anyway, if you want to learn, now that was an interesting story. Not gonna front, but if you want to learn a little more about our race, our people, and not necessarily a speculation on other people, although I do put in some science regarding the Neanderthal, who is in fact he was pretty present or omnipresent in the Eurasian, and may in fact have something to do with that Eurasian's toxic mentality. And again, that science is outlined in the Book of Power. So if you're interested in that kind of scientific thinking that may contrast to contrast against this Bible, what I have for you is in fact this ad for the latest book, because hey, at the end of the day, I gotta pay my bills, and you have to read good literature. So it's a win-win situation. Check out this song and let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, so I know books, alright? So let me tell you about a book. You ready? Okay. Alright. Check it. So the goal and objective is to be selective, electing for knowledge with the black directive, checking sources, heritage, and legacies. With the brilliance to defeat, I'll never see the Book of Power, so aptly named, esteemed and famed for informing the brain, and doing the same as the ancestors before us. Sankofa, that's the life chorus. Wisdom is the key against danger. Either change the leaders or lead the changes. We we are doing Africa with no strangers. Do you hear us? Okay, hold on, we can't continue to beat the second fiddle. African power is the end of this riddle. Let's build a nation that likes which never existed. The motto heretofore, we persisted better, we resisted best. We building, we'll raise the roof and break through the ceiling, peeling away the chance we were given to stop to survive and start thriving and living. Africa's about to host superpowers. China and US back up the time's ours. No one can be free without freeing themselves, but freedom is shown and hold on bookshelves. The book of power, a key for liberation. There's no domination where there's education, because ignorance is man's main weakness. All of us for the streets don't teach this. Then the pages of sages think and quick. Akapong, Delaney, Dessalines, Nieri, Garvey, and Zinga, and Cooks. 500 pages surpassing most books. The task is told to build up a continent. You will hold the tone for the competent. Have some pride and push forward your chest. You lead it by leading one of the best. The book has science, covers violence, self-reliance, and does away with silence. The time has come for the work to get done and build up a land that'll be second to none. We'll organize, technologize, strategize a new Africa before our eyes, and blackness will be the complexion we see anytime we envision what it means to be free. So come join minds, read what is written. Here be solutions, no longer hidden. Nothing works in theory, all that works and works. So always out to put ourselves first. Change the leaders and lead the changes. Tell your friends, family, and neighbors. Change the leaders and lead the changes. Tell your friends, family, and neighbors.
I'm telling y'all, go look up the lyrics. I'm telling you, these lyrics is
Tell your friends, family, and neighbors. Change the leaders and lead the changes. Book of Power.
Book of Power.
So the Book of Power can be purchased on Amazon. Just click on the link below. Alright? Send me on tap. Tulende ma'at, tushinde is fek. Tulende ma'at, tushinde is fek. Tulende ma'at, tushinde is fek. Hotep.
Hotep.
Alright, so the world is only part of the creation, an atom of universe. It is a complete entity of creation in relationship with other entities in the creation. Man is made of mind and matter. Matter is manifested through nature, and mind is the connecting link with the spirit of Amun. The highest mind in the world is the mind of man, and that behind it is the spirit of Amun, giving the mind free will to act through the soul. The soul is mind, as well as the feeling of heart is soul and mind. The explanation of this is intricate as that of the Trinity. And here's that nonsense, that Christian nonsense. But I'll just read it for whatever. This is Christian nonsense. God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost. The Trinity of patriarchy, right? Alright, so as a man rules the universe, all matter and mind, so man through his mind rules the world over which he is Lord. The whole world then belongs to man. Each man should get his appropriate or proportionate share. So this is interesting, right? Once upon a time, now you have to understand this. Once upon a time, the African was the only man on the planet. Okay. The Eurasian, I would say, is more of a mutant hybrid. In the Book of Power, we call him a hybrid, right? And a hybrid in the sense that he's a hybrid of this Neanderthal. And this is what's really interesting. This is what's really telling. Were the Neanderthals unthinking animals? You understand? Was Homo erectus, Homo habilis, these, because essentially what we're known as is Homo sapien, right? But were Homo erectus, Homo habilis, are they unthinking animals? Are chimpanzees and monkeys and gorillas, other primates, if you will, primates, I believe, are they unthinking animals? Are pigs and dogs and cats and rabbits, are they unthinking animals? Even if you go down to the cockroach, the bugs, the insects, are they unthinking? Plants that curve at the curve out the window toward the sunlight, are they unthinking? The question becomes, is man truly the only thinking being? And if he is, at what point do we say to ourselves, at what point do we acknowledge that? I mean, there's two things to it. what is the cutoff for thinking? One. And two, why do we include other people into this claim to this planet? Each man should get his appropriate and proportionate share. Why do we say that? Garvey is famous for saying Africa for the Africans. He also says Europe for the Europeans, Asia for the Asians, Israel for the Jew. But at what point do we say to ourselves, this whole planet is our indigenous land? And when you notice that truly the worldwide claim to land is the Africans, you realize that no one would not only claim, no one would not only fight your claim, but then understanding that you have a claim everywhere, and that they can fight you on your land in Europe or your land in Asia, they can fight you on your land in Africa. You have to understand. So that's why when I say, sometimes I close off Nitaya 2. What does that mean? Now you're the Book of Power, you know it right away. The Nitaya 2 is the world is ours. This is Pan-African nationalism. Okay? Even you have to go even beyond Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was excellence. You have to go beyond it. You can't say Africa for the Africans, Europe for the Europeans. No. This is our planet. And understanding that, and this will give you the understanding of why the white man is everywhere. Because he realizes that you have a claim for everything. And he has a claim for nothing. So if he has one thing, why shouldn't he have it all? If you can't defend your land anywhere, why should you have any? You get involved in building. Get involved in building. When in a lifetime he fails to get this, he naturally fails to lift himself up to his lordship. One man's dispossession of his lordship enthrones another man's sovereignty over him. Hence a ruling man and a serving man, a ruling race and a serving race. You've been reduced to a serving race. Never be a race of servers, but a race of sovereigns. Lords control the world because the world is your providence. The world will not yield more than you want it to yield, but if you know the world, you can make the world yield much. Whatever you want, always try to master the world. To master the world, you must know the world. Hence, you must pass outside of your own district, county, and country. To know the world, go and possess it, because all that is in it is yours for the getting. Go out and get it. There is no other rival but your fellow man. No one else can rival you for your land, but those who do not deserve it. And the question is, do you deserve it? If you have not committed yourself to the literature, have not committed yourself to the activity, to the works of nation building, if you've not committed it, are you deserving? If I could slap the food out of your hand, if I could slap the food out of your hand, do you deserve to eat? Never allow your fellow man to rise higher than you, otherwise he will make you his slave. Look at your history. What is your history? What is your history? What is your future? If you do not use the world well by understanding it, it will destroy you through its matter and through its mind. If you treat the world well by knowing it thoroughly, the world will serve you obediently. Always dispute the right of any other man's superiority over you in the world. Fear no other man but Aman, for Aman is your superior, but man is always your equal, so long as you rise to his attainments. You may rise to attainments through the extraordinary use of your mind. Mind is matter. Mind is king. When it goes wrong, it loses its scepter. It remains right and wields the scepter and sits upon a throne. Always be on a throne. It is your prerogative. It is your right because you are the Lord and master of the earth and all things therein. In going through the world, hold your head and courage high, for you must always remember that you are man and the ruler of the world. Remember that you rule the world through your mind. Think high, think deeply, think in a way to make you know all around and about you. If you do not know, you will fail. Be sure to know. Again, be sure to know. Read. Read. Knowledge is everywhere. It is hidden, search for it. And when you discover it and no one else knows about it, keep it and use it for the good of yourself and your race. Your first duty in the world is to yourself, your family, your race, and your racial nation. Then worship Aman, absolutely, and thank him for all. You want to watch out for the word him, but yeah. If you allow another man to know more than you, he will lead you up to the precipice, and if it suits his purposes, he will let you fall in. Therefore, know as much as he does and more, so that he may not lead you blindly. When you have to follow another man because you don't know, you are taking a dangerous risk. He may bury you. He may hide you away to suit his convenience. Therefore, while you walk through the world, always be on guard. Try to lose your mind. Try not to lose your mental balance. Try not to lose your mind. Try not to lose your mental balance. Try not to lose your sense of perception, because in losing these things, you are doomed in the world. There is nothing man cannot know, except the divine and the almighty mysteries of Aman. All that is possible to man, man may know by seeking knowledge that is in the world. Seeking knowledge that is in the world. Always try to be self-sufficient in yourself. Where it is possible, seek that self-sufficiency in your racial relations, comradeship, or in your race. Always see to it that your race is self-sufficient. That means that everything you want must be obtainable in your race as far as human relationships will permit. If you are not individually self-sufficient or cooperative in your racial relations or self-sufficient in your race as a whole, you will have to go outside of yourself for that sufficiency, which will make you absolutely dependent on the goodwill of others for your sufficiency. No one will give away value that is wanted for self, so you will have to serve and become servants or slaves to sufficiency. Never wait on another man's pocketbook. Use your own, because he may never show up. He may die on the way, and your wait will be too long. That's lesson 12. That's lesson 12. Come on Discord. Let's build knowledge together. Every Sunday we have worship. Could be a voice channel. Could be a voice channel. Come through and represent. Show yourself. Communicate and do us that good favor of getting that book, getting the book of power, and really applying the knowledge so that we can be the rulers, the lords of this planet. All right? You want to be the lords of this planet. You want to be the rulers. You want to be the okay? We have to get it done. But thank you so much for listening. This was the Pro-Black Perspective on KWZ Radio. I'm your host, Onitaset Kumat, and peace and blessing. Shem Yem Hotep. Nita Yetu.